Hi everyone, welcome back to Circuit Breaker. Today we are breaking down a really important First Amendment case that pits the Washington Transit Authority, otherwise known as WMATA, against the Catholic Church, and it involves a dispute over a Christmas ad. Now, oral arguments were held before the DC Circuit back in March, and we're expecting an opinion pretty soon.
And we're really excited to talk about this case with you because it pits two powerhouse appellate litigators against each other. Their names are Don Verrilli and Paul Clement. They're both former solicitors general. They famously squared off against each other in the Supreme Court in the Obamacare decision, as well as some other key cases. And now they're at it again here at the DC Circuit.
Right. So this case brings us back to Christmas of 2017, and the Catholic Church wanted to run advertisements on WMATA buses that were religious themed about the Christmas holiday season and charitable giving. And WMATA said no.
It did.
So can you explain the ad for us, James, and why it was a problem?
So at first glance, it appears pretty simple. It's kind of a black and white banner advertisement. It encourages charitable giving over Christmas, and it also contains some religious messaging, like Jesus is the perfect gift, I think is a quote from the website. So the ad is pretty religious in nature, and when the church asked to run it on the sides of city buses, WMATA declined because it has a policy that says no advertisements that either promote or oppose religion.
And that policy is what brings the church before the court today because they say that's what violates their First Amendment free speech rights.
Exactly.
So at oral argument, Judge Kavanaugh seemed pretty inclined to agree with the church on that point. And he hammered WMATA's counsel, Don Verrilli, on the point that WMATA allows all of this speech on its advertisements. It pretty much opens the door pretty wide, and it just carves out this one viewpoint of religious-themed speech. So listen to the exchange.
WMATA is running a transit system. Its goal, its mission here is not the mission of the
it's running a public forum. You can't get out of can't get out of this by saying, oh, we're just a bus company. Once you open it for private speech, not your speech, Metro could do whatever it wants as its own speech. But once you open a forum for private speakers, you know, as the Chief Justice again said last year, the idea that you can say no churches need apply is odious to our Constitution.
So that was the exchange between Judge Kavanaugh and Don Verrilli. But there's a really strong counter-argument to that as well, and the other two judges on the panel seemed a bit more open to it and a little bit more circumspect.
Yeah, and the counter-argument is basically that WMATA is not discriminating against speakers based on their religious viewpoints or any viewpoints at all, which would be unconstitutional.
It would.
But only that the agency has set up this forum for speech, basically advertisements on city buses, and it's allowed to kind of exclude certain types of controversial or divisive content. And that's why it says it doesn't want religious ads. The question in the case boils down to whether the agency can say in advance, we're going to take religion off the table. And Judge Wilkins was really interested in probing that argument. And so speaking of tables, he kind of came up with this interesting analogy at oral argument. He started talking about his Thanksgiving table and kind of saying in advance to your relatives, we're just not going to talk about certain topics to avoid disagreements over Thanksgiving. I think that analogy sort of is a perfect encapsulation of this case. So let's just take a listen.
So if I have the same rule and I said, you know, the Christians and the atheists spoiled Thanksgiving dinner last year, so this year there's no discussion at my table of religion. That's viewpoint discrimination?
I think it is within the meaning of Rosenberger. And I think the way you reconcile, and obviously Rosenberger itself says drawing this line is tough and one blurs into the other, but the way the way you get around that at your Thanksgiving dinner table next year, if I may offer some advice, is to say, hey, look, this year let's keep it simple. Let's talk about sports. Let's talk about the family.
So we hope that we'll be bringing you news on an opinion in this case before Judge Wilkins is actually sitting around his Thanksgiving table. But until then, we'll keep you posted. Thanks for watching, everyone.
See you next time.